Okay, let's go for another example. Here it's black's turn to play. Obviously white has a serious advantage, but the next move of the black player is the reason why they lost the game and lost it very quickly. He played knight e5. Okay, looks like normal move, placing knight in the center. But the matter is that this knight will not stay long in this position, because it's not the good hole for the knight. F4 could come at any moment here and push away the knight. And by the way, black has some problems with the space. And for example, after F4 and knight, I don't know where the knight will go, knight G6 maybe, he may have some serious problems already with the placing of the pieces on in reasonable positions, and will maybe just have problems with this knights too, because potentially white could start pawn attack on the king side. So even on G6 and F6, knight will not be placed, let's say, calmly. Best move here was knight e4. According to our rule, when there is a lack in the space, it's good to trade some of the pieces. For example, after rook e1, knight takes, queen h4, still white is better, but black achieved some success because he exchanged one knight, and now there are less pieces at the board who needs some special attention, and simply he's not stuck in his space. There are no problems with the catching the pieces. Bishop c8, probably bishop will go to d7. Yes, white can take here, exchange the queens, exchange the queens, double the pawns, but this doesn't look like decisive and winning the game. Now, let's say what happened in the game after wrong move of the knight, knight e5. White just played rook e1, bishop d4, and just the way we said, f4. Already knight cannot go to d7, knight has to go to g6, and now g4. And pawns are advancing here. g5 is already threat to win the knight, because coming to e4 does look very nice because there will be a pin. Also, I don't like coming to g4 because at some point after h3 knight will be trapped here. So queen d8 was played, anyway g5 and queen d2, taking under the control e3 square, and on the next moves white wins material. Why it happened? Because black did not realize that it was a time to quickly exchange some pieces, at least one of his pieces. He did not understand this, he did not do this, and now and then he got the position where he couldn't find any reasonable squares for his pieces. He was just smashed by the pawn attack and these disturbing threats over his knights. Okay, let's go for the next example. It's a little bit different one. White has many possibilities to exchange now pieces, starting from knight e7, bishop e7, knight f3 check, knight f6 check, but he has to choose, of course, the best option. Okay, sometimes my pupils here say white has to play knight f6 check, and after bishop take, the king's position is weak. But in truth, it's just an illusion. For example, let's say queen e6, bishop already has to leave this position, f5, and black is just doing fine here. Actually, he thanks you very much because of exchanging his bad piece. Simply, we should not exchange bad pieces of the opponent. Exchange technique means that we exchange good pieces of the opponent, and he should be left with the bad ones. This is very simple and powerful recommendation, powerful philosophy. So according to this philosophy, what white should do here? Instead of exchanging bishop g7, he should just exchange on e7. Knight takes, bishop takes, queen e7, and we are left with the powerful or potentially powerful knight against the useless tall pawn on g7. The next maneuver, I think it's very easy to understand. Knight has a very beautiful hole on d5, and he should go there. Knight d2. It would be a mistake to go via e3, because now after f5, knight c2, bishop h6 is coming, and suddenly this terrible bishop gets some job and restricting knight from going to d5. So of course he has to start with knight d2, f5, knight b1, f4. We should not forget about the prophylaxis. We should not relax. And before we go knight c3, of course we have to stop f4 by playing f3. g5, knight c3, h5, knight d5, and now white just starts the play on the queen side. And as you see, bishop is stuck here, doesn't play, and that's the reason why black cannot really create any serious threat on the king side. Let's say g4, b4, and I don't care. g3, just simply a h3, and there's no any attack here. Okay, let's take a look about on another position, and this is already the highest level example. It's very similar to the previous position, but black has to make quite irregular decisions to get the advantage now. I just want you to think a little bit, and maybe you will be able to find yourself what he needs to exchange here to get the advantage, to fix his advantage. I hope you stop the video and you find the correct decision, even though it was really very hard. The matter is that if black will simply exchange on d4, let's say bishop take, rook take, nothing good happens for black. I have passed pawns here. Potentially bishop can also pressure those pawns, go to this diagonal, support c6, double the rook. So this would be just trading the pieces just for trading, and nothing more, nothing else. Svidler played here bishop takes d4. Okay, it also looks like what he's doing, right? Because he's exchanging his great bishop and giving the pair of bishops. Bishop takes d4, and suddenly rook d8. Okay, so far it doesn't look like everything is clear. White plays bishop e3 because unfortunately rook d1 is not possible, because there is a simple tactical strike, bishop c2. And white is losing. If rook takes, then knight takes d4, and then black will take here with the check 2, and will win a lot of material. So that's why bishop e3 was played. Black also exchanged the rooks. Rook d8, it's just a forced line. Bishop e3, and the culmination, the final point of the black's exchange combination, bishop d3. And now we get the point. Thanks to those exchanges and the forced moves, white will be left, let's say, take, with the bad bishop that's just watching for his own pawn and nothing else can do, against very powerful and great blocking knight on c6. So thanks to this construction of the knight, blocking knight and the pawn chain, white's play on the queen side where they have pawn majority is just stuck. And now e5, f5, king goes to the center. He has a very easy play on the side where he has pawn majority. But of course in the beginning it doesn't look like that. But Sweedler realized that potentially this is the bad bishop. And he exchanged it. He found the way to exchange rest of the minor pieces and stay with this powerful knight against exactly this bad bishop. Really very nice technique. Let's go for one more example. White is a pawn up. We also were talking about this subject. We have black has a material disadvantage, and I hope you remember that when we have a material disadvantage, what we have to trade is our pawns. Because if we will exchange here the pieces, the pawn endgame will be lost, of course, for us. So that's why we have to limit as more as we can the pawn number at the board. So that's why black start with g5. Okay, it's not only just exchanging the pawn, but also he looks for the counterplay on the open file and intends to enter on the second rank. White played rook c2, and probably you already can guess the next move, f6, forcing more pawn exchanges. Knight c5, maximal activity. We already were talking about in some of our previous lessons. If you are material down, or if you are having problems, the only way you can compensate it to show maximum piece activity. Check. Some maneuvers. And finally, black will be able to take this pawn too. Well, actually it's just a trade, but what's important, now only 4 white pawns are left at the board. Rook h7, rook c4. Black does everything to eliminate one more white pawn. And now it's already just, okay, still white keeps the better chances, but it looks like a drawish to me. Rook c4, check. Rook c4, again black wants to enter here on the second rank. And I don't know why he didn't continue giving checks here. It was one of the most reasonable answers here. But black played just a d4. King c2, and one more time, b3. Little exchange combination. Sacrificing the pawn, but now it's clear that he is going to recover this pawn on b3. Black played knight d3. If he would play something like rook h3, black may play knight e3, and anyway he will be able to take this pawn because he closed this line. So knight d3, rook takes b3. Interesting try, but of course it just leads to the draw. Check, and knight e3. Okay, of course black would be happy to exchange also those pawns, and then even just knight sacrifice for the white b2 pawn is enough to fix the draw. Just one extra knight cannot guarantee anything, of course. Black played h4, knight c4, king e5, and now black just intends to sacrifice this knight and then go to catch the pawn. Well, of course he will not do this immediately. It depends how white will continue. Let's say if white will play now something like knight c5, I think it's working. Knight takes b2, king f5, and white knight cannot help the pawn. So game agreed draw. So we saw almost all kind of ideas when piece exchange, and all kind of situations when piece exchange could help us improve our position, improve for being worse, and improve for being equal and go to get some advantage. I hope you understood the lesson, and I hope before you make any kind of piece exchanges, you will go to evaluate also the potential possibilities and factors of those pieces, not only the material ones. Because in the greatest players of the great school of USSR, the great world champions, were teaching us that you just can win the game by correctly made exchanges. There's no need to play only attacking, tactical, and combinative chess. Uh, I hope you liked the lesson. I hope it will be useful. See you next time. Bye bye.